So 1 minute and we're on. Welcome everybody, welcome people. Join us with this new episode, the new episode of Live International Advising with Paul Jones. And we are here to talk about any of your questions that you may have in terms of life, career, and language advices and consultancy. And without further ado, since we only have 25 minutes of time, let's begin with the introduction. My name is Kathleen Soko. I am a founder and developer of this channel, University Others, and I'm also an advocate for the 17 SDG goals of the United Nations. But not all of them, I focus on 4. And you can see it on your screen right now. We are showing a video with that. And also, I'd like to introduce Paul Jones, of course, our resident host. He is an independent advisor and for language and for career consultancies. And he has experience to survive life in general without having a formal degree, but rather common sense and idea of bootstrapping. Now, let's address with your questions, and at any time you feel free to click on the description box link that's GoToMeeting. You may also download or install Viber, and on the chat box you may ask of our direct number so we could communicate with you even without this show. So we will still communicate with you guys. If you have any questions that may be directed towards our next episode, then that would truly help. We will be glad to help. So I will give the floor to further introduce himself or to have anything to say to Mr. Paul Jones. Mr. Paul Jones.
Hello, my name is Paul Jones, as Kathleen has stated. I've arranged to be with Kathleen each week to provide a free service. I cannot tell you the amount of times that young people go through the internet looking for advice, only to be faced with endless subscriptions and costs of money for everything you come to do. The marketing of the way these companies operate is, in my opinion, not fair. And for that reason, I've agreed to assist Kathleen and help anyone out there with any questions whatsoever on their career, personal life. I'm a career advisor and counsellor, and I've worked in several universities, prestigious ones such as Liverpool University online, Walden University in the United States, TS Nimbus in the Netherlands, Nyeroda in the Netherlands, and the list would go on. However, we're not here to be talking about my history and background or Kathleen's. The fact that you've got 2 very professional people providing a free service for you to answer all your questions and your needs. So I look forward to any questions you may have in the short time we have together in order to help you proceed in your endeavours.
All right, thank you so much. And so we may continue, since we don't have any much viewers just a bit for now. Of course, we will have that traction further on as we go along. But we need to, form our own discussions, Paul. So anything that you might want to share?
Well, I was going to ask you, Catherine, if there's any questions you want to ask me. that you came across in your career, or anything that you might think may be useful for people? Because I'm advising entrepreneurs, people who are not happy with their jobs. That's it. You know, there's some really interesting topics that we can discuss. There's many people that are doing jobs simply because they need to earn a living. And they may not be happy in their job, but there are ways around this, and there are ways to succeed out of positions, or how to go for promotions, or even how to start up your own business. So I think once we start getting viewers to come and listen to what we're talking about, the subject will take a broad interest in different areas, of course. Because I can remember when I was at school, I was told 1 week before leaving school that I had to see a career advisor. And I went along to see this career advisor. And he said, "Hello, Paul." He told me his name. He says, "I need to ask you a question. You leave school next week. What would you like to do?" And I said, "Well, I'd like to play for Manchester City football team." And he started laughing. And he said, "Good luck, goodbye." Mm-hmm. That was my career interview. Good luck and goodbye.
So it was very disheartening on your end, right? It was disheartening.
Disheartening wasn't. Disheartening wasn't the word. And do you know what, Kathleen? What I found is we move on a number of years, and not a great deal has changed, except people are having to pay money to get the same answers. Exactly. Good luck and goodbye. Mm-hmm. And as you say, I don't have, I've never been to university, which shocks a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But I have my own opinions about universities and education, of course. Mm-hmm. I've worked in it for the last 20 years, of course, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. And I see many aspects of teaching and training being done by, let's say, so-called professors and teachers, that it really is like trying to find a needle in a haystack to find someone who can give you the advice and the skills that you need, such as listening. Many people don't take the time to listen to the question. Many people today, they expect results without putting any effort into anything. If you said to somebody, you know, I can make $1 million in the next 6 months, and you have to do this and do that, and people don't want to do anything. They just want to wake up, click their fingers, and expect the knowledge, the skills to have arrived. And life isn't like that. Life can be quite cruel to many young and older people, of course. And I think it's important for the viewers to know that when I say I'm an international career advisor, I put a claim to that of managing to visit 52 countries around the world. So it's quite possible I may have been in a hotel near you. Unfortunately, I've never been to the Philippines, which I would love to visit.
But you have been with Asian countries, right? Asian countries,
I've been in many Asian countries, but not the Philippines. Yes. And I find the Asian culture quite unique. I find it very submissive. I find people do as they're told, especially in companies and jobs.
So that is in generality. Okay.
Of course, yes.
Vietnam, you may say. In Indonesia, Pakistan is an Asian country. Have you been to Kyrgyzstan? Kazakhstan, and I believe there's a little brother country, which is Kyrgyzstan.
No, I've not been there. I've been to Kazakhstan. That was very challenging. It felt a little bit like a police state, where you're not allowed to take a photograph of the outside of an hotel where you stay, which is quite bizarre. Yes. You would find it very unusual, the rules and regulations when you're traveling. And one thing I did notice is when I went to India, I have never come across so many people in all my life who seek higher education. I think it is a crying shame that the Indian government and the education authorities do not do enough to accommodate the people. And that's before we talk about living standards. But that's another subject for another hour and another day.
Another episode, yes. We only have 25 minutes.
Yeah, of course.
And and the guys can actually check out. You may see our screen that there are 2 times there. The ones running above is the Madrid time, and the ones running below is the studio time, which is here in the Philippines. Okay.
Yes, well, actually, I'm as Kathleen pointed out, that's the Madrid time, because I'm actually living. I'm not in Madrid. I'm further south. I'm 5 hours from Madrid, next to a place called Alicante on the southern coast. And I moved there for health reasons. And that is why I'm participating in helping people like Kathleen and other people who request help, because it's more of a passionate hobby for me. I'm here just recuperating my health, thus I am not working, and this is very nice mental stimulation of being able to help people and do something positive, rather than people having to find money to go on courses and pay for this and pay for that. I find that as long as you've got common sense, you can achieve most things in life. Of course, we cannot be doctors and surgeons and fly a plane without special skills. But for the majority of the workforce, I think people get into a little mold where they get into a weekly routine that they find it difficult to sort of go for other jobs. They may be struggling knowing how to write a CV or how to approach an interview. And when we talk of CVs, one of the changes that is happening in the world, and not many people are actually doing it, is that I would suggest if you're going to write a CV, why not try a video CV, where you give a 1-minute speech on your mobile phone, you present yourself, your skill set, you explain the interaction of what you can bring to the company. And these are some of the latest things that are being done by students and by other people thinking outside the box. When you read a CV, your CV is normally read in 5 to 10 seconds. When I worked at one of the universities I worked at, and I was assessing resumes, I could read the resume in 10 seconds, whether it was 2 pages, 3 pages. A resume should be 1 page, really. But the world is changing all the time. And I'm a great believer that if you can find a career advisor that gives you their time and actually listens to you and gives you little assignments that must be done in order to get you where you want to go. Nothing's for, well, I say nothing is for free in this world except our presentation, Kathleen. So I think the whole world should come and join us and listen to what we've got to say together.
Absolutely. There is something that I've learned at the University of the People, because I am under scholarship with them. I'm not able to afford quality education, and I'm very much an advocate of quality education. It's part of the 17 SDGs. SDGs by mean of Sustainable Development Goals for the United Nations. We already have passed with the MSGs or MDGs, sorry, that's Millennium Development Goals. That was way back 2015. Now the goals for the United Nations is for the 2030 or 2030 to move with the sustainability of all countries, not just the poorer or poorest countries. Before, way back, it was the poorest countries that they are prioritizing, like you've mentioned before, Congo, right? Probably it's poorer than my country here in the Philippines, where there's no sanitation. The water is like, you cannot drink a good drinking water. So the point there is that aside from those circumstances. It's about not having proper education, not having good opportunities in work standards that these people or that population are having. I mean, imagine Africa, Congo, and also in India and China. There's a lot of population there, a big landmass. So I think going back to what am I referring to, I've learned at the University of the People a great deal of quality education, wherein I am not being spoon-fed. I am constantly learning it online all by myself, and of course with just, you know, a little or a fraction assistance from professors and peers. But even with that fraction of assistance, you can actually sense that you are advancing towards yourself. The goal is for a person to actually improve and develop themselves. So we need to be able to do that. Not just, you know, helping others out because just for the sake of helping others, but we help them because we strive to help ourselves first. And that is my standard, actually, that I am living right now. It might change. No one knows, right? Because people are evolving. Actually, I also have to point out about LGBTQA plus. That is what it is all about. Why? Because people are changing, people are evolving, and they might not be, you know, the lesbian that they are today. Probably in the future they might be transgenders. Who knows? So that's how it is, actually. So because we are evolving, we are moving towards a faster, high technology age, and because we are not satisfied with this type of just, you know, boring world, kinda. And that's why I also think that Elon Musk is a founder of, you know, space travel. People are going to Mars. I mean, I would just want to point out that he indeed was building an inspiration there for, I would say, a millennial like me, or for maybe a baby boomer like you. What are your thoughts about that, Paul?
Well, you've got people like you said, Musk, and there's other people like Richard Branson, and there's other speakers. And I went to an event in Amsterdam to see an American-Canadian guy. I'm trying to recall his name. It doesn't come to mind. But I was very disappointed because it was a scam. You have these presenters and speakers who will sell you absolutely anything. They sound convincing, and there's many examples I could give you. I think at the end of the day,
I think it would help for the people. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I would think it will help for the people to really enumerate or specify, why do you say so? What is your because of stating that upon attending it was totally a disgusting experience for you? What is the scam that have you observed?
Okay, well, I got a message on my Facebook. If you're talking, let's say, when you have your mobile phone on and you're having conversations, when you go to social media, you will start getting advertisements from conversations that you have had with your friends or colleagues, and you will think, that's strange.
That's algorithm, Paul.
How is that?
Yes, that is possible
of course,
because of the artificial intelligence.
Of course.
Okay,
now I got this message about a career event at a hotel. The guy was flying in from America, and he was saying how to improve your chances of getting the job, how to be more successful, to be more motivated. All of this workshop is free. It's very important that you come dressed in business attire. We're going to show you the techniques of marketing online, how to do this, how to do that, etc. So they had a very nice advert. Now you go along to the presentation and the person presenting would not speak to any individual of the audience outside of that room. When he was in the room, he was built up as if he was a messiah, like a god. Now, all this,
that is correct.
They had what's called a warm-up man before he spoke. This is a person that gets the audience laughing, gets the audience comfortable, makes them relaxed. And I found it very strange that the speaker had to have a bodyguard with him. Why would a presenter need a bodyguard in the Netherlands, where people are very sensible and law-abiding? It's because the product he was selling, which was his product, and he was using videos of Tony Robbins, Richard Branson, where he was saying, this speaker, that he could get you to meet any person in the world, and once you've met that person, your whole career would change. But in order to do that, it's very important that you buy his DVD and his videos during the break in 10 minutes time. And he's only got 100 left. And it's very important that you don't listen to your husband, you don't listen to your wife, you listen to just him, and you go outside the room and you spend $50 on a DVD. He was more interested in selling his DVDs than providing the service. And when somebody questioned this in the audience, he was given a load of abuse by the presenter and told to leave the room. And when he left the room, he then said, "That's what you call a loser, someone who will not buy my DVDs," etc. Now that to me is totally wrong and against all ethics. That to me is a scam. He is not providing a service. And then he wanted to ask if anyone wanted to visit his workshop for the Millionaire Club. How to become a millionaire. Total laughable. During the lunchtime, I went back in the room after lunch. The audience of 200 had come down to about 75. And he was calling all of the people that had left as being losers, and the people remaining were going to be successful. A typical speech of misleading.
Yes,
and
total misleading. Sorry, Paul, I have to ask you, were you part of the 75 that's left?
No, I actually left later.
Okay,
I left later,
just so you would know, right? What the flow would be.
Well, during the next break, I decided I couldn't take any more. It was just, when I see a person being misled, I feel a need to say something. I was so distraught and upset and annoyed with the presentation that I sent letters to Richard Branson, because Richard Branson and other celebrities around the world gave good references to this speaker. And I think anyone would give a good reference if they're being paid $75,000 to do so. And that's what he said. I pay these people $50,000, $75,000. They come to my home, that we have dinner, we sit in the jacuzzi, and that to him is a reference. Well, I'm sorry, it's a total scam. And I feel myself as a protector of the people to point out that this is wrong. And if there's anything you want, there's chances of getting what you want for free. I'm a great believer, and I think education and the health service should be totally free for everyone, university as well. You mentioned Congo before and Africa. The problem with Africa and Asia is not the fact that about the quality of education, it's the corrupt politicians that are not investing all the subsidies and money from companies around the world back into the education system. there are so many corrupt politicians and people. This is the big problem.
Yes.
And it's a problem that will not change.
It won't change until the person won't change as well. Because here's what I also observed, Paul. I'm not to cut you off, okay? We will go straight with the trail. But I just want to point out as well that these politicians were corrupt because the people allows them to be. They're not standing out. They're not speaking out. They just take it in. And so when they take it in, they've experienced like it's an abuse. And then there's this domino effect. They're gonna abuse other person as well. They're gonna pass it forward on somebody to just make it also corrupt, you know, like for example, this is just a scenario that I'm giving you. A public teacher might see a parent who is depressed and then their children are not doing well in school. As a public servant, because you are a public teacher, you took an oath, you should be, you know, dealing with that problem. The issue of that certain problem is to just help out that child of that particular parent. But no, they are actually increasing the corrupt system by, you know, having a good grades for those people who are wealthier, or for those who parents who are giving them great gifts for teachers, because the teachers actually were experiencing downsides as well. You may not know their income is not sufficient enough, paid by the government, and that's why they say, well, we're not having extra income, we're going to source it out. What's our avenue? So their avenue is to sell out to parents what they can, because they use that advantage as a leverage for them to make more income, if you get what I'm saying, Paul.
Yeah, well, let's face it. I mean, it's like the pandemic, of course. There's one rule for the rich and there's one rule for the poor. And if you're the rich, you don't have to isolate when you go to another country, which is the case happening in Europe at the moment. It makes me very, not angry, but frustrated that people aren't treated equal. And of course, it's very difficult. I mean, Africa could have had a train system the whole length of Africa if they got their act together. Unfortunately, like what's happening in Russia, if you're an opposition leader to the government, well, it's such a dangerous life you've got, because what's happened in Russia is the opposition leader has been put in prison for no excuse, to shut him up, to keep him quiet. There's many good politicians and many good people, because they've spoken out, they've been silenced. In Saudi Arabia, if you speak out, you disappear in the desert, plain and simple. And it breaks my heart to hear all the stories of good, honest, hard-working people that are silenced. And it's a shame. But getting back to the education, of course, people are desperate for education. And of course, another niggling little factor is the Europeans and the Americans, they look down to many Asian and African countries. And they are very judgmental. There is a problem of judgmental. And I cannot tell you the amount of applications when people look at your TEFL results, or your TOEFL, or your Celtic, or your GMAT test. Such bias and discrimination to people who have got the pass level, but they're being judged on their nationality. And I think it's wrong. I think it's totally wrong. And it would be nice to have managers that could manage, directors that could direct, and all schools should have in place counsellors and psychotherapists for the students and also for the staff. And if we can't get the basic foundations of living standards and education and health together, then it's on a slippery road. And most countries are still on a slippery road. And it's an ever ongoing battle, I must say.
Exactly. And I wish I could add more to that, but we are actually on time right now. Are you seeing on the screen?
Yes, I am, and I'm thinking how nice it would be when we have audience members, because there are many people with questions, and we're here to give them not the answer, but options to consider, which
Yes.
is more important.
Yes. A total wonderful insight. Although small, it can be terribly great. Okay, so that's it for now. I'm not gonna wrap it up. I think, guys, you can just replay our episodes and videos here at University Others, which is us. My name again is Kathleen Soko, and you are?
And I'm Paul Jones, and we're here to help you with any of your questions of life.
All right. Thank you so much for watching, and see you again